Okay guys, welcome to the next entry in the introduction to CT Mass Battle 2's players. CT Mass Battle 2 will be coming at you on May 4th of 2019, and you can find all of the pertinent information in the graphic that I've so politely put my face over. Today we're going to be looking at HamBam, one of the players invited from Massachusetts, a Boxer player who you'll find deep in just about any balance patch or traveling controller bracket. Also a player who's had lots of gameplay with virtually everyone else invited in this event. Some tournament placements for HamBam. We have HamBam having won Traveling Controllers Awaken's first week. He was the first person to qualify for the next level trip under the Traveling Controller Awaken banner. Took second in the second week, losing to Burkish, who that was the week Burkish qualified. And took second in week 5, losing to Zaf and Burkish, and that's the week Zaf qualified. Some more recent placings. We've got a third place finish on March 22nd, having lost to Burkish and Mike Smith. A third place finish on April 19th, having lost to Burkish and Mike Smith. A second place finish just the other day on April 26th, losing to Burkish in grand finals after sending Burkish to losers. And then a fifth place finish on April 5th, losing twice to Andre early in the bracket. What we're going to be looking over today in our effort to figure out the strengths and weaknesses of all of our players is we are going to be looking at a game from Traveling Controller Awaken Week 5 versus Draken. This was, if I am not mistaken, the 4th place match, wherein HamBam gatekept Draken out of being able to qualify for the team ultimately. And then for the match in which he loses, we will be looking at the Losers Finals match that took place on April 19th at Balance Patch, wherein Mike Smith 3-0s HamBam. If another of these names seems like it's coming up a lot, Mike Smith comes up a lot and we're looking at his games, but Burkish comes up on this list a lot. And I want to highlight this because as someone who does commentary at Balance Patch very often, HamBam and Burkish is a set that happens a lot, and I'm not the only one that's noticed. That's HamBam's Twitter feed from April 27, I suppose, because he posted it after midnight. But these two bump into each other quite a bit, and this is a matchup that, if it were to happen at CT Mass Battle, would be one that we have a lot of experience having looked at. But so, to start off with right now, we're going to hop right in to this 4th place match of HamBam versus Draken. As I picked the worst possible time to wait for us to load in. But yeah, so one of the things about HamBam, and I'll, more or less admit this right now, is it's taken me a couple of attempts at making this video for HamBam. And I'll pause this and just actually describe this. Because for some of the other players that I'm highlighting, there's some spacings that are really powerful, or some tools or some aspect that we're not necessarily used to seeing in everyone that are standout, that make you sit there and go, oh wow, this player's whiff punishment is really good, or oh, this player's really, really good at counter poking. Great at finding and threading that needle. And with HamBam, I kept making attempts to pick something out until eventually I had to watch these sets and pick out every moment that he was generating damage. And I think my ultimate takeaway, if I give the TLDR right now, my ultimate takeaway for HamBam is, the trash compactor scene in Star Wars and New Hope, where the walls are just coming in. HamBam's Boxer is those walls. He's going to very aggressively poke you. He's going to use that dash straight as a poke. You're not going to be allowed to move. You're not going to be allowed to jump. How dare you walk forward into my space? And you're going to eventually be forced to sit there. That's sort of his ultimate goal. And as he's doing this, he's walking you down. Gets you into the corner. Then you have to deal with the mix. There isn't a lot of mix mid-screen outside of V-Trigger. It's a lot of poking, counter hits, good anti-air, solid fundamental play, and walking you into the corner. He is an offensive wall that you have to answer. But now that I've told you my thesis, let's show you the work. Now, in this set against Draken, one of the things that HamBam has to contend with is Ibuki's V skill. Ibuki's V skill, really good. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it in Zaf's video as well, and I'll pause this to discuss it so we don't miss anything else. But Ibuki's V skill really cool is it pulls her hurt box back before it comes out. So it's particularly great as a counter poke in those ranges after you've blocked one or two normals from somebody and it's pushed you out of range such that they're sticking out a button in hopes that you're trying to counter poke. Ibuki reeling back and then coming in to hit you off of that, and then it generates the V gauge so that it affords her the ability to run her V trigger game even more effectively. HamBam has to contend with that in this set, especially as a character who primarily is just trying to fill the space in front of him with hitboxes. There's one thing, you know, the dash straight, you can't jump forward. Draken tried to do something more aggressive. Nice punish on the anti-air. And then just like that in the corner. Now what's going to happen? Mauling him with buttons, and then finds the anti-air that's around. So this round, it was really a question of Draken even got V-triggers super early, but it was that wall of pokes, blowing up that dash straight, finds the challenge there on that one. That was a throw tech. Now, I've had a couple of people, we've talked about this a few times as we're about to watch him get hit by the overhead kick. HamBam not typically throwing on offense. You find a lot of these back throw situations is HamBam doing like a delay back tech. Catches the backdash there with the overhead kick, but no follow-up there from Draken. EX dash straight, just like that in the corner. Can't anti-air there, but challenges after the kunai. This is another thing that I found that was interesting, and I believe it comes up again in this set, so I'll show my work when it does happen the next time. Gets hit by the fake cross-up. Yeah, that's another thing about HamBam too. So there, this isn't necessarily what I wanted to highlight, but I'll highlight it here because it's now happened twice in one round. First on the gap in the EX kunai, and then just now with the whiffed stand roundhouse. But HamBam is very quick on the trigger with challenging your gaps with standing jab or other fast target combo normals like that, where he can just gatling them out and punish you for leaving a gap that you shouldn't. So he had the trade with the EX kunai earlier. Later on in the set, it happens again where an EX kunai, the blast doesn't quite hit, and he gets the challenge. And then there with the whiffed roundhouse. Then big V-trigger stuff goes for the low. I believe he tends to go for the low most often in these sets when I look at it. Finds the back. Here it is. That's exactly what I was talking about. It did happen in this set, and then challenges him. So recognizes... I'll say recognizes, but either recognizes that the blast from the kunai is not going to hit because the kunai wasn't spaced properly, and challenges with the 3-frame stand short, or is just hitting the button in hopes that it doesn't work. But in either way, it works out perfectly for him, and he takes that first game. Yeah. So now, gets caught. Now, I had just alluded to him being really good at waiting for the gaps, but there, so... The one command dash and Draken founds the opening, but in literally the next sequence where Draken is trying to dash forward early, stop his pressure in hopes of getting, you know, another tricky low hit to catch HamBam asleep at the wheel. HamBam is ready for it with the counter poke. Backdash defensively, it's another thing that's been happening a lot, and I believe the reason for that would be that if your play style is setting up this offensive wall of hitboxes behind dash straight and like crouching strong, crouching fierce, then living in that range where you have to worry about it, if you can just backdash out and then get into that range where you can dash punch back in, I feel like as HamBam, you would much rather want to be in that space because you've aggressively moved in than because the other person aggressively moved in on you. It's something about setting the pace and the momentum. Even to be negative, you know, you're in a position where if they want to counter poke to keep you honest, I'll pause this now that we're in a good range, or a good beginning of a round. If they block your dash punch and you're minus, in theory, you could play greedy, you know? So there's something to be said that you have that sort of mindset of, well, they're going to default to maybe a standing short or a crouching medium kick or something to try to keep you honest and just put out a hitbox, get you sitting still, and then start their own offense. If he hits at a certain range, he can sort of walk back after that, which is where the strength of the low forward there happens, because it'll keep him in place. But at which point, he can sort of try to blow you up for counter poking if you're not doing it in a good spacing and timing. If he's not in that situation, what I found across these games is that he'll backdash defensively in a lot of those mid-ranges, particularly here against where Ibuki's going to go to the V-skill, and rather than dealing with anything, he'll just dash back and then start to charge a dash punch. If he's going to be in, he wants to be in on his own momentum. Challenges the V-skill there with the nice, I believe that's stand fairs? You're just sort of getting mauled here. Now that's one thing, right? The disadvantage of playing that really aggressive poke style is that if you're going to be whiff punished, if they're going to have a toolkit that's going to whiff punish you, the answer is for you to not hit those buttons quite so much, which in this situation affords a character like Ibuki the ability to get in and run her game. So 1 game apiece here with Draken taking game 2. As I said, obviously, with the whole thesis of this entire thing, you know, HamBam's going to win this match. Finds the sweep to blow up the V-skill there. It was a little too close for Draken to get away with it, but I think by this point in the set, HamBam's gotten wise. So see there, we saw it again. I think by this point in the set, HamBam has gotten wise to where it is on the screen and what it is that prompts Draken to use Ibuki's V-skill. So what we saw, first we saw him go for a sweep to whiff punish it because she wasn't quite, well, whiff punish or to blow up the startup. The point being is the spacing wasn't quite correct and he was in range to get the sweep. And then immediately afterwards what we're finding is he's not hitting buttons in these places where he was earlier in the set. Earlier in the set, it would be poking patterns of 2, 3, 4 buttons, and around 3 or 4 buttons, Draken's hitting that V-skill and blowing him up. Now we're finding 2-button, wait. 2-button, wait, and charge dash punch. Or 2-button, wait, and then walk in. Finds the anti-air. Still a solid anti-air game here, which is also good, because crucially, he's trying to play a ground game. You know, obviously, if your anti-air game isn't solid, then you don't get to play a ground game. Yeah, that is... You're right past me. That was a really good whiff punish. Yeah, so this ends up being a big moment for him. Gets the cross under. Doesn't finish the combo, but works out nicely for him. It's a shame he has to spend the bar, but Draken gets up on set point here. It is not to be, unfortunately. HamBam sitting on tons of meter. Challenging here forward. Once again, Draken trying to do something to steal some additional time, go in behind his own offense, and HamBam ready with the jab. You know, he's not going to let you do it. Here, critically, recognizes that the Shuriken is going to come back and just stops the offense. He doesn't overcommit, and then now buffering behind where he knows Draken is going to try to steal some more offense. Has him stuck in the corner. This is basically HamBam's round to lose. Doesn't challenge the roundhouse that time, but challenges the dash straight there. And the back dash, again, I believe that was a read on an uppercut, probably. And there was a bar in play. Blocks the cross up. That's critical. Yeah, blowing all his V reversal because at this point he can't afford to lose this round, and he doesn't need V trigger to come back or anything. And I like that. He, in the cross up, walks forward just enough that the cross-up whiffs and then punishes Draken when he lands to get the round back on the board. Now we see Draken backdashing a little bit to try to get outside of the dash straight range. Now, in a couple of the other boxer-style matchups, we've seen more neutral jump-style play, but we don't really see that here from Draken, and I imagine it's because if he's going to the air, he really wants to get in behind it. Although there was one, and then a nice whiff punish on the dash straight. Text the throw. Now, HamBam goes to throw pretty rarely. Oh no, that's a bad placement on the sweep. And now into the low, and just like that, wow. So, steals this round on a V-trigger comeback, which is... Oof. Well. So what did we see? What we saw here was and like I said, an offensive wall of hitboxes. A lot of these rounds that HamBam won, it was gradually pushing Drake into the corner. And then if Draken had to overcommit to get out, he was preparing to punish those overcommitments. The rounds that he lost, there was a lot of damage coming from getting thrown or just getting mixed up in general from what Ibuki is able to do. V skill catching him. But all in all, that was a pretty good set wherein what we really saw was just solid boxer. Walk back, dash straight back in, don't try to chase me, gradually walk you into the corner, and then you need to deal with a mix-up. What we're going to see next is, instead of that, we're going to see Volcanic Akuma versus HamBam. Similar in the sense that they're both Akuma versus Ibuki, both aggressive, mix-up oriented characters with ways to alter their jump arcs, less than average health and stun. So, in theory, Boxer could do similar things of just sort of mauling them and trying to make something happen. Differences being, Akuma has more ways to alter his jump trajectory and more ways to attack you from those weird jump trajectories. He has a better sense of horizontal space control in that he doesn't need to spend a resource to chuck fireballs like Ibuki does with the kunai, where she's more likely to use that in block strings to maintain frame advantage or in certain spacings. You're not necessarily going to see that full screen. And Mike Smith with the patented, demon stuff that you're going to end up worrying about too. So, hopping into this one. Now this one does go 3-0 in Mike Smith's favor.
All we think about is he's got CA, he's gonna demon, and then he does it.
I'm going to turn this down a little bit because I think it's a little louder than the other one was.
Nobody else actively plays around demons like Mike Volcanic Akuma Smith. If I beat him in brackets...
And then right from the get-go, we see two different air options there from Volcanic Akuma, right off the get-go. Demon flip at round start, and then dive kick immediately after. But we still see HamBam over here trying to set up this really aggressive wall of pokes. But there, once again, we see his go-to defensive tactic appears to be to backdash, generate a little bit of space, and then his hope is that he's going to get to dash punch you for trying to steal any more space than you've already gotten. And then a bad tech on Wake Up costs HamBam that round there in the corner. The second he gets to the corner, it falls prey to Volcanic towards Fierce. Or Akuma towards Fierce, rather. I know this thing isn't about Volcanic Akuma, but Volcanic Akuma parrying these dash straights and standing Fierces in this set is kind of nuts. I've had to watch this set a couple of times, and it's still crazy. Yeah, and we see really good usage of the low-medium kick there. That's another thing, I've alluded to characters going to neutral jump more, and that's good for if you're trying to play a more neutral focus game or a more footsie style game against Boxer. But if you want to get in and you want to keep him in that range, there we see, Jesus. HamBam cannot get an anti-air here. I suppose I have 2 points to make, and the ability that this is going to be long-form content, and the fact that I can pause it, I should make both of these points. Good use of the crouching medium kicks really wants to keep HamBam sort of in that space. If he's back dashing defensively, which HamBam has already demonstrated in this set, and Volcanic Akuma and HamBam get to play a lot, so I'm sure he's got that nugget in his head. The low medium kick is going to stop that, because obviously you're not crouch blocking if you're trying to walk or dash back. So he gets a little bit of damage. He can probably buffer on the second one into a fireball, get something going, or into a Tatsu. But it's an effective way to force HamBam to sit still, which unfortunately means that he's at the perfect space for Volcanic Akuma to do jump shenanigans, which leads into my second point of HamBam cannot land an anti-air in this set. Volcanic Akuma is switching up between demon flip options and jump fireball and jump dive kick towards Fierce, which isn't necessarily, a jump in the conventional sense, but it has, a similar arc, similar properties, and it, rather than being fully committal as a jump, is intended to be throws. But the point being is he has all of these options, and he's so effective at changing the ones that he's using that it makes it very difficult for HamBam to anti-air. If it's difficult for HamBam to anti-air you, or if it's difficult for Boxer to anti-air you, then there's nothing discouraging you from doing that, and there's no reason for you to play the ground game, which means Boxer can't play the ground game. Now he's weak. He's going to have to use his V reversals to get you off of him, or he's going to have to find the appropriate gap to standing short into something to generate something for himself. But these are risks that you need to take. If you're V reversaling and you're losing, you're not getting your big V trigger comeback, which is such a Boxer thing. If you're hitting buttons and they're watching for it, you can get shimmied or counter hit. And it's going to make a bad situation worse. So the first thing that I feel HamBam needs to do in this set is figure out this anti-air game. But obviously easier said than done, right? Yep. And he's got the patience now in HamBam. And what did I say? He has to challenge, and Volcanic Akuma knows that. He can't V-reversal, obviously, because he's sitting there in V-trigger. So what is he going to do? He has to fish for some button into dash punch and make something happen off of that. And when you play around the thing that your opponent has to do, Jesus, the crouching strong, this is really just a clinic on shutting Boxer down. And just like that, HamBam stuck in the corner right now and blown up. This is going to be stun again. Goes for the hard knockdown, does Volcanic Akuma. No button there, but goes for the crouching medium kick there. And once again, he needs to make something happen. But I like the choice of crouching medium kick in general, because in that situation, he saw Volcanic Akuma was walking back to shimmy. And this is something we've seen in a couple of places. A couple of other players that I've highlighted so far already, when they recognize that they're being shimmied, rather than just eating it, sometimes they'll try to counter poke with a faster button. And in a shimmy, you're walking back, you're not crouching or anything. So a low forward is going to work. It worked there for HamBam, but he wasn't able to make anything really happen off of it. Now he's in this situation in the corner. Great use of V-skill to get around the fireball, but Volcanic Akuma going to a reversal. And he hasn't even had to go to a reversal at this point. So what reason was there for HamBam to be waiting for it? Plus, Volcanic Akuma had so much life, the risk-reward was non-existent. Finds an anti-air there, finally. And if he's able to do something like that, but Jesus Christ. The V-skill parry. Nice use of the low forward there again. EX dash straight after the fireball, making something happen. And here we see already something of his ability to set up these pokes, but Volcanic Akuma going to... That's twice now. Volcanic Akuma going to jabs, either on wake up or in between HamBam's block strings, or poking patterns even. Which tells me that these gaps are not as tight as they could otherwise be. And Volcanic Akuma is taking advantage of a gap in HamBam's play, or a looseness in HamBam's aggression that is affording him the opportunity to steal his turns back. Just walks back there after forward fierce, which is already negative, which tells me he's scared. Oh, Jesus, he should have been. So, I remember this happens. So after that forward fierce, Volcanic Akuma has instilled in him so much fear that he's minus... What is he, -4 on forward fierce? Or -2, I'm sorry. So, he's already... It's his turn, but we see him patiently waiting because Volcanic Akuma has scared him. Every time HamBam is hitting buttons, Volcanic Akuma has hit a better button. This ends up being a great round for HamBam. Finds a nice jump in there on the fireball. Good air-to-air there from Volcanic Akuma. Once again, we see that was another instance of Volcanic Akuma going to jab in between HamBam's pressure. It's just something to keep in mind. It's a pattern. As HamBam's momentum is getting stalled because Volcanic Akuma is jabbing him out of stuff. Throws the back walk or back dash, whatever was going on in there, but finally gets a round on the board for himself. But as I said, if I'm not mistaken, this set goes 3-0 in Volcanic Akuma's favor. So this doesn't end up working out too great for him. Lots of patience here, but once again, Demon Flips. The Demon Flip mix-ups, what's he going to do? Have to believe that was an execution error from Volcanic Akuma. Backdash defensively again. And again, so what we're seeing, and I've highlighted it a couple of times, what we're seeing is that as a defensive choice, HamBam would rather reset to neutral. Because he wants the ability to go in behind that big hitbox like your dash punch, or to walk in behind his buttons. I think the problem he's having in this matchup, though, is he's not being able to do that because Volcanic Akuma is shutting down those dash straights with good use of jab, good use of crouching strong, and good use of low forward. So instead what's happening is they have to play a slower footsie game, which means Volcanic Akuma can walk into range to set up this demon flip offense that HamBam is not able to anti-air to sufficiently shut down.
Which is what I said when I said the Goblet of Fire bet.
Crouching jab challenge there for HamBam trying to walk forward. That's something similar to HamBam's challenge of Draken's pressure in the last game, is to recognize the air flip there on the medium kick and then understand that that means the fireball is not going to connect. Therefore, he can challenge with a button and get away with it. That's another thing, HamBam having that presence of mind to stay in the flow of the game enough and recognize those weird situations when they happen.
I don't know, look at this meter.
Gets the knockdown there. Wake up jab again from HamBam, or from Volcanic Akuma. HamBam, I need like a counter for how many times Volcanic Akuma is getting wake up jab, and it's stalling HamBam. And then a trade on the fireball. So, if I want to put on my tinfoil hat, I literally just made a point of HamBam being good at recognizing when your setup isn't working and challenging. Those fireballs whiffed. Much the same as the previous situation with the standing medium kick where he air teched. So HamBam's going to hit a button. And he hits a button and hits the fireball, and Volcanic Akuma challenges with it. If I want to put on my tinfoil hat, that was a trap that Volcanic Akuma set for HamBam because he sees that HamBam is hitting buttons and challenging in these gaps when he thinks he has the room to breathe. Which comes full circle back to what I said earlier, which is, what does he do if he's losing in this situation? Especially with, once again, no V-trigger. Or he's popped V-trigger, rather, so he doesn't have V-reversal. So what is his option? He needs to get a good counter poke into big damage, because that's something that's afforded to Boxer in V-trigger.
The trade on the fireball?
Yep. So, one round apiece. CA stocked for Volcanic Akuma, which if you're playing against Mike Smith, all that means is that you think you're probably going to get Raging Demon. Finally, a little bit more momentum here going for HamBam. Oh, gets swept for walking backwards. That's good presence of mind from Mike to recognize that HamBam is defensively just trying to get out of range altogether. Finally finds another nice anti-air there, does HamBam. And the biggest of anti-airs from Mike Smith. And now stuck in the corner. Really? But look at all these buttons. And then Demon Flip into slide to with punish the dash punch. There were so many buttons defensively there. And it just sort of, and I can switch over now. It just sort of comes back around full circle to what I said. What, in a matchup like this, in the way that Mike is beating him, what does Boxer or what does HamBam do? You have to convert something into V-trigger and mix them up off of that for big damage to take the round. Walking them down and playing behind the big wall that is your Boxer fist isn't working. So what you instead need to do is find the gap and steal the round. All those button presses, every single one of those was something that he needed to get into V-trigger so he could dash punch, and with the amount of health that Volcanic Akuma had, any one of them into one reset would have taken the round and kept him in the game. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us for HamBam? Well, in HamBam we have a fundamentally solid player whose primary game plan is to take any opportunity he can to advance behind a powerful hitbox. He wants to walk you into the corner and maul you. He wants to bully you. When he wins, it's because he's able to do that. Or it's because he's able to find the gaps to make something happen off of his V-trigger. Those are his win conditions. He's either winning from the offset, or he's making something happen off of V-trigger because you overcommitted. In this set, what does it look like when he's losing? Well, someone is able to play effectively around HamBam in such a way that he struggles to play the ground game. In other games that we've looked at, in other boxer matchups, that might look like neutral jumps to blow up dash straights or what have you. But here, what it looked like was HamBam's inability to clue in to the way Volcanic Akuma was pressuring him and jumping in on him, which made him fluster in the mid-range because he couldn't play around these jump-ins. And what it ultimately meant was he was just shut down offensively. Critically also, wake up jab, wake up 3-frame, and just generally being quick on the draw with that 3-frame and that fast button worked out wonderfully here for Volcanic Akuma to make this happen for himself. So that'll be it for me on HamBam. We'll see him along with all the rest of these players at CT Mass Battle on May 4th, where I will also be. Once again, all of the information is on the graphic. Thank you guys for tuning in. Follow on all the socials to make this happen if you like it. I'm going to be bringing you guys more content as stuff goes on, both related to CT Mass Battle and in general. So thank you for tuning in, and